Listen up, family. Life ain't always fair, and rules they change, but panic ain't power. I'm here to remind y'all, knowledge is power, and calm moves win the game. Women across the nation are shaking over these new child support rules, but let me tell you something, fear ain't a strategy. Understanding is, life don't hand you instructions, it hands you moments, some smooth, some rough, some that test your patience and your mindset. Awareness is the first step in turning those moments into victories. You can't control everything around you, but you can control what you know, and more importantly, how you respond. That's where responsibility comes in. It ain't just about knowing the rules, it's about owning your role in your life and the life of those who depend on you. People get caught slipping because they panic at the first sign of change. They see new regulations, new challenges, new obstacles, and their minds go wild. Fear takes over, but fear ain't a solution, it's a trap. When you step back and actually see the landscape, that's when power comes in. Knowledge turns confusion into clarity, and clarity turns chaos into opportunity. Responsibility starts with understanding your circumstances. You can't react wisely if you don't know what's really happening. Whether it's financial shifts, legal changes, or personal obligations, you gotta sit down and break it all apart. See the details, ask questions. Don't rely on rumors, don't rely on what other people are saying. Seek the truth yourself. Awareness is being awake to the realities you face, and responsibility is using that awareness to take the right steps forward. Too many people move like they're blindfolded, reacting only to what's visible on the surface. That approach gets you nowhere. The real winners are the ones who study, who anticipate, who prepare before the storm hits. Responsibility also means accountability. You can't shift blame, you can't pass off your challenges to someone else and expect growth to happen. If a change affects your life or your family, own it. Look at your finances, look at your plan, and see how you can adapt. Don't just complain about the system or the rules. Figure out how to move inside of them. There's power in being proactive. You take a step forward when you analyze, you strategize, and you act, instead of waiting for life to hit you over the head. Every person who's ever built something lasting, every person who's ever left a mark, understood that responsibility isn't a burden, it's a tool. It's the way you turn uncertainty into control and control into freedom. Awareness ain't just about seeing, it's about understanding the consequences of your choices. Every action, every decision has ripple effects. That's especially true when it comes to taking care of others. Whether it's your child, your family, or even yourself, responsibility means recognizing the weight of your influence. You can't just drift and hope things work out. You gotta be conscious of your moves, deliberate in your actions, and relentless in your follow-through. That level of awareness separates people who live reactive lives from those who live with purpose. Purpose drives decisions that build wealth, stability, and respect. Without awareness, you're just drifting. Without responsibility, you're just drifting recklessly. Part of this awareness is also understanding timing. Things change fast. Rules, circumstances, relationships, opportunities, they all shift like the wind. If you're not tuned in, you get left behind. But when you're conscious of the environment, you can anticipate change, adapt, and pivot. Being responsible doesn't mean you live in fear of change. It means you respect it, learn from it, and position yourself to thrive. Awareness shows you the path. Responsibility makes sure you walk it without hesitation. That combination is how you stay solid in uncertain times. That's how you move from panic to power. And let's talk about discipline, because awareness and responsibility are nothing without it. Knowing the rules, understanding the stakes, taking ownership, if you don't follow through, it's all wasted energy. Discipline is the muscle that turns knowledge into action. It keeps you consistent when things get hard, when the noise around you tries to pull you off course. Responsibility without discipline is like having a car with no gas. You see the road, but you can't move. Awareness without action is the same. You gotta fuel it with commitment, with focus, and with the refusal to settle for mediocrity. At the core, awareness and responsibility are about respect. For yourself, for your family, for your future. Respect means showing up fully, being honest about your situation, and making decisions that reflect long-term thinking instead of short-term convenience. It means never letting fear dictate your moves, never letting uncertainty paralyze you. The world will throw challenges at you, rules will change, situations will shift. But if you're aware and you take responsibility, you remain unshakable. You don't react with panic, you respond with clarity. You don't complain, you adjust. You don't settle, you build. So understand this, awareness and responsibility ain't just concepts, they're lifestyles. They're habits you cultivate every day. They're about seeing clearly, thinking critically, and acting deliberately. They're about standing tall when everything else is shaking. And when you do that consistently, you create a life that can't be easily shaken. You create stability, security, and legacy. That's the power of being awake, accountable, and intentional. That's the power of awareness and responsibility. Empowerment ain't something you wait for, it's something you take. The world won't hand it to you, and nobody's gonna hand you the keys to your own life if you don't reach out and grab them. Action is the bridge between dreams and reality. You can sit and talk about what could happen all day, but without movement, without purpose, that talk is just noise. Empowerment comes when you stop waiting for permission, stop waiting for the timing to be perfect, and start stepping into the space where you can make things happen. Every choice you make, every move you take either builds you or breaks you. The ones who succeed, the ones who leave a mark, they understand that action is the only language that speaks louder than fear. Too many people let fear dictate their life. They see obstacles and they hesitate. They see challenges and they wait. But empowerment through action flips that script. It's about using what you have, where you are, with who you got to push yourself forward. You don't need someone else to validate your strength. You don't need approval to begin. You start with the resources in front of you, the knowledge in your mind, and the will inside your heart. Every small step counts. Every deliberate effort compounds. That's how momentum builds. That's how power grows. You move and the world starts to respect your presence, your persistence, and your grind. Action is also about ownership. When you empower yourself, you don't blame circumstances or people around you. You don't cry over what could have been. You take the situation, look at it clearly, and ask yourself, what can I do right now? Empowerment isn't about controlling everything. It's about controlling yourself, your choices, and your response. It's about turning setbacks into lessons and lessons into progress. When you act consistently with focus and purpose, you're no longer a passenger in your life. You're the driver. You set the direction, you navigate the obstacles, and you determine the pace. That's true freedom. That's true empowerment. And let's talk about courage, because action ain't always easy. Empowerment doesn't come from comfort. It comes from stepping into the discomfort and claiming what's yours. It comes from making the hard call, taking the risk, and moving even when the path isn't clear. Courage isn't the absence of fear, it's moving forward despite it. Every time you choose action over hesitation, you build confidence. Every time you choose growth over stagnation, you reinforce your ability to handle the next challenge. That's how leaders are made, not by luck, not by chance, but by consistent, courageous action. Consistency is key. Empowerment isn't a one-time move, it's a habit, a lifestyle. It's about showing up every day, even when nobody's watching. Even when it feels like nothing's changing. The effort you put in compounds quietly, slowly, until one day you look up and realize you've created a reality that once seemed impossible. Action transforms potential into results. Dreams remain dreams without the sweat, the discipline, and the daily grind to back them up. When you act, you create opportunity. When you act, you build credibility. When you act, you show the world and yourself what you're truly capable of. Empowerment also comes from influence. When you act decisively, you inspire others. Your movement, your discipline, your commitment, it radiates. People start seeing that success isn't just luck, it's effort, strategy, and tenacity. You can't rely on hope alone. Hope doesn't pay bills, hope doesn't secure futures, hope doesn't build legacies, action does. Empowerment is contagious. The more you move, the more you lift yourself and those around you. You can create a ripple effect with every deliberate step. That's the essence of real leadership, the kind that motivates without words, the kind that shows through results, the kind that transforms lives through example. And don't forget patience. Action doesn't always show immediate results, and empowerment isn't always recognized overnight, but each move you make is a deposit in your future. Every effort, every sacrifice, every calculated risk, they all add up. The key is to remain consistent, remain focused, and never let temporary setbacks shake your faith in the process. Real empowerment is built in the shadows, in the grind, in the silent victories that no one else sees. The world only notices when you've already arrived, but the work is done long before the applause. Lastly, action is about responsibility, because empowerment without accountability is just ego. You act, but you also take ownership of the consequences. You make a choice, and you live with it, good or bad. That's maturity, that's growth. When you combine deliberate action with accountability, you become unstoppable. You're not just moving for the sake of moving. You're moving with purpose, with vision, with strategy. That's the kind of empowerment that builds wealth, builds legacy, and builds influence that lasts beyond the moment. So remember, empowerment is never given, it's claimed. It's the product of intentional, consistent action. You don't wait for the perfect time, you create it. You don't wait for the perfect conditions, you build them. You don't wait for someone to tell you you're capable, you prove it with every move you make. Step into your power, take deliberate action, and let your life reflect the strength, the vision, and the resilience that's already inside you. When you act, you empower. When you empower yourself, you elevate everything around you. That's the code. Move with purpose, grind with intention, and rise with action. Long-term vision is about seeing past the smoke and the noise, past the distractions and the short-term wins, and locking your eyes on what truly matters. Life will always try to pull you into the moment. Quick rewards, instant gratification, easy fixes, but those things rarely build anything that lasts. Real power, real wealth, real respect, it comes to those who see the horizon and move deliberately toward it, even when it ain't easy, even when it ain't popular. Most people get caught up in what's in front of them, what's urgent, what's flashing in their face right now, and they lose sight of the bigger picture. But the ones who thrive, the ones who leave legacies, they think in decades, not days. They measure success in seasons, not in minutes. That's the difference between fleeting victories and lasting impact. Long-term vision demands patience. You can't rush it, you can't force it, and you can't fake it. It's built with every small, intentional decision, every disciplined habit, every sacrifice that others won't make. People want to skip the process. They want results without the work. But the truth is, lasting success requires consistency over time. You got to plant the seeds, water them every day, and trust that the growth you're working for will come when it's supposed to. That's why so many people panic when life shifts or when rules change. They're stuck thinking only about the now instead of preparing for tomorrow. Vision is about seeing beyond that panic and making moves that count for years, not just weeks. Planning for the long term also means understanding your priorities. You can't chase everything, you can't please everyone, and you can't let temporary situations define your destiny. You gotta know what matters most, your family, your legacy, your health, your growth, and make decisions that reflect that. Every action, every investment, every relationship you cultivate should be aligned with the vision you see for yourself. That's what separates the players from the legends. Legends think ahead. They move with purpose. They don't get distracted by short-term noise or let fear steer them off course. They keep their eyes on the prize and let the journey unfold according to their plan. Vision is also about resilience. Long-term thinking doesn't mean life will be easy. Challenges will come, setbacks will try to shake you, people will doubt you. But when your focus is on the horizon, when your vision is bigger than the moment, those obstacles become fuel instead of barriers. They teach lessons, they sharpen your skills, they force you to adapt and grow. You don't crumble at the first sign of difficulty because you know this ain't about today, it's about the bigger picture. You understand that storms pass, that tides change, and that every hardship you endure now builds the strength and strategy you'll need to dominate tomorrow. Another part of long-term vision is investment, not just financially, but emotionally, mentally, and spiritually. Every choice you make should build equity in your future. Time, energy, knowledge, relationships, these are the currencies that compound over the years. The way you spend them today determines the freedom and options you'll have tomorrow. People get caught chasing quick wins, blowing resources on things that don't grow, but those with vision focus on what appreciates. They stack their days, their months, and their years like investments, knowing that patience and strategy always beat impulse. That's how empires are built, quietly at first, and then they show up powerfully when the world least expects it. Long-term vision also requires clarity of purpose. You can't just drift and hope for the best. You got to know where you're going and why you're going there. That clarity fuels discipline. That clarity keeps you consistent. That clarity protects you from distractions, from energy drains, from people and situations that don't align with your goals. When you have vision, you move with intention. Every action has meaning, every choice has direction, and every challenge is weighed against whether it brings you closer to the life you want to create. Without clarity, vision is just a vague dream, and dreams alone don't build legacies. And let's be honest, long-term vision takes courage. It's not always understood by the people around you. Some will question your moves, some will doubt your timing, some will mock your patience. But vision isn't about pleasing the crowd. It's about staying true to the path you see for yourself. You gotta believe in what you're building even when nobody else does, because the payoff is reserved for those who stay the course, who grind quietly, and who make choices not for applause, but for impact. Finally, long-term vision is about legacy. It's about more than just surviving, it's about thriving in a way that leaves something behind. Every choice you make today ripples into tomorrow, affecting not only your life, but the lives of those who come after you. When you think long-term, you think about what matters beyond your moment. You think about influence, about family, about stability, about respect. You plan for a future that isn't just about you, but about the generations that will walk the path you pave. That's the kind of thinking that builds empires, changes communities, and transforms lives. So never settle for short-term thinking. Don't get distracted by the noise. Keep your eyes on the horizon. Stay disciplined in your grind and move every day with purpose. Every decision, every action, every sacrifice you make now is a building block for the life you want, the freedom you deserve, and the legacy you leave behind. Vision isn't easy, it isn't fast, it isn't popular, but it is powerful, it is lasting, and it is unstoppable. Walk that path with patience, clarity, and focus, and watch how everything you've dreamed of slowly but surely becomes reality.